Hello, and welcome to A Ghost Hunter Watches. This is a show I conceived of around the TV show The X-Files. I thought it'd be really interesting to watch literally every episode of X-Files in order and do a little response video from the point of view of somebody that's actively working in the field of the paranormal. Thought it'd be a really neat idea, and over time people would start to watch X-Files on Netflix along with me and then tune in to this show, and we'd go back and forth watching the series together. However, good job Netflix, you did not renew your license with X-Files. I've been shooting it out of order with the intent to release these episodes in order to go along with the series. However, that is neither here nor there anymore. I will still continue this series in general, looking at movies that are coming out, movies that are old but still relevant, some of my favorite ghost story movies, anything talking about poltergeists, including Poltergeist, I can't wait to do that episode, demonic possession, exorcisms, I got a really great exorcism episode lined up, and other relevant shows, again, like Stranger Things, which we have part 2 still forthcoming. But without further ado, I'm going to show you a look back at my very favorite episode, which is Jose Chung's From Outer Space. And I do have to perhaps blame you, because although obviously I was well aware of the amazing phenomena that was X-Files, you showed me my first X-Files episode.
Really?
It was in your class, and it was the show we're talking about today.
Oh my goodness.
Because I'm one of those jerks that when everybody says something's great, I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'll do other stuff.
Go against the tide.
Yeah, for no reason, no logical reason. Because if everybody's right, they must be wrong, you know?
Yeah.
It was a phenomenon really quickly.
Oh yeah. I think partially probably with Buffy, you can look at it as one of the shows that pushed towards serialized storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So you had those big overarching story arcs and the Monster of the Week shows interspiced between.
And it was also in a bit of a miniature lull where there wasn't a lot of these types of genre shows, because Tales from the Crypt had just ended, I think right around this same time, early 90s. Maybe it was still going, but even then, that was HBO. That wasn't really for the masses.
You had some shows in the 60s and 70s. There's one called The Invaders, which was an alien invasion series. But the big predecessor for this would be in the 70s with Kolchak the Night Stalker. So shout out to Kolchak the Night Stalker.
This episode brought to you by.
And Darren McGavin, who played Kolchak, of course, shows up in the X-Files in one episode. They wanted him to play actually Kolchak. And I believe he said no. Chris Carter, obsessed with Kolchak the Night Stalker. People in my generation, that was the show that scared us to death.
Yeah.
The original movie, The Night Stalker, was at that point the highest rated made-for-TV movie of all time, up to that point. Written by, I think, Richard Matheson or something? It was crazy. like really great. But yeah, that's a really obvious influence on that.
Do you remember the first episode you saw?
I watched the first episode.
From the beginning?
From the beginning.
And were you hooked immediately, or when did you?
Yeah, there was a moment in the first episode when Mulder sees this, if I remember correctly, he sees this bizarre skeleton. Mm-hmm. And he lets out this weird little whoop of excitement.
Yes.
And I remember going, I like this. This is really good. There's just something different about this.
It's so funny, because I did just watch the pilot a couple days ago, and they're setting him up. They obviously, any pilot is going to change from the rest of the show, but they really set him up to be like a Fonzie, cool rebel at first.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think they abandoned that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun watching that. Like, he's the cool, aloof guy.
Oh yeah.
Like, no, he's the nerd.
He's the nerd.
Yeah, and
then it works. By the way, did you know that when they started this show, he had to fight to get her cast? They wanted to cast, I believe, if I remember this right, a Pamela Anderson type.
Well, let's talk about that, because they make reference to it in this episode. Remember?
Yeah.
You were the one that pointed that out. There's the eyewitness, the bald, freaky deaky, really into it eyewitness, who describes the Men in Black, and he's describing Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
And one of them is in a female costume, but she's really not pulling it off.
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot that line. Do you think this is the funniest episode of all the X-Files?
It's easily the funniest one I've seen. Now, I have not seen all of them yet.
I'd have to say it's the funniest, I think, overall. There's other ones that I think have a nice sense of humor, but I think it never touches how funny this one is again, I don't think.
Yeah, this is amazing. Before we get too far into this, let's go back to
how we met.
Oh, yeah.
I took a English Comp 101 class. I had to take one anyway because it's a mandatory if you want to get your degree. And then I saw a subheading of horror. So I could do an English Comp class, but it could be themed to horror. That was amazing. And so talk about some of the other ones that you've done and how it came to be. Was this the idea that you had, or did you pick it up from somewhere else?
I think they had been teaching some theme classes a long time ago, but they haven't done it. They hadn't done it for a long time. And I was teaching. I always teach 2 sections of the comp. I teach a couple film studies, and I started teaching mythology. But the comp classes, that's a heavy workload in terms of all the papers and grading all the papers. And after a while, I just realized I was getting pretty burned out. And I also realized that my students were they were too. I mean, so I started teaching theme classes with the idea that if you can write about a subject that you're already familiar with and are interested in, you'll write better papers. Mm-hmm. And I always tell my students, in your college career, you're going to have to write papers about things you have no interest in. But this is a class about writing, so why not just
jump into
right into what you know? So it's not a class about horror as much as it is. It's an English Comp class where we use horror, and I always make sure all the students know that they've signed up for that in particular. Yeah. But so then I get a stack of papers, and they're all about a subject I love. They're writing about things they love.
Yeah.
The first ones I taught were television, which I think was too broad.
Yeah, I took that one. That was my English Comp 2, was television.
Yeah, I think that was too broad.
And I don't even think that was offered the next semester.
I stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped. But horror works really well. Comic books works really well. Some other teachers have taught detective fiction, actually meditation.
Really?
Yeah, one on meditation, combining English Comp and learning about meditation techniques. Star Wars, Star Trek. So one on science fiction generally. She teaches, Elizabeth also teaches that, I think, all the time. And there was another one that was really interesting. Oh, Catherine Starzak teaches one on celebrities.
Wow.
On the idea of stars and celebrities.
That's got to be fascinating.
Oh yeah, I'd like to. I just want to get in there and write about that.
Seriously.
Stuff.
Yeah. The analysis, because you're analyzing all of society at that point too. Okay, so now getting into Jose Chung's From Outer Space. One of the best bits of storytelling that I've ever seen. This is, even though I haven't seen every episode of X-Files yet, that episode I've probably seen a dozen times.
Oh yeah.
Because that is one that, if I make a reference to it and somebody doesn't know what I'm saying, sit down. Because we're watching it.
You gotta watch it.
Because I can still rewatch it over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, and with everything with the X-Files, they've really done a great job with little details. I mean, the first shot, maybe it's not even the first shot, but a very early shot that looks like you're watching the beginning of Star Wars.
Yeah.
To see that it's a guy, a maintenance worker.
Right.
And I think that actually was the first shot, which is
Yep.
brilliant. And it goes on, and we jump right into a scene that feels like a typical alien abduction story. If you're followers of that, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction case, it's looking like it's coming right out of those reports. And then things change.
This is not happening. This is not happening.
What a powerful, bizarre, weird, surreal moment.
Yeah.
When the alien that's abducting the kids gets abducted by an alien.
Yeah.
And then they come to, and we see the Gray having a cigarette and speaking English, and that's the slam that gets us into the opening credits.
I mean, I said a minute ago I thought this was the funniest episode. On some level, this episode does what the X-Files should do, which is unsettle.
Yeah.
Set up it should set up, mysteries within mysteries within mysteries. And after a while, of course, the show becomes somewhat conventional that the aliens exist, this and this about them, In some ways, it starts to feel less mysterious. This is a show that fully embraces that and says, we're going to keep on pulling the rug out from underneath you, just always. And they do so in interesting, not just in narrative ways, but in other trickier ways too.
Usually, as the audience member, you see it all at first, the inciting incident that kicks off the episode.
Right.
You get to see it. Mulder and Scully don't know what's going on. They haven't been brought onto the case yet. So the audience at first has the lead on them as far as knowing what's going on a bit. And then usually it's a bizarre, fun adventure. and somehow they pass us. And we don't usually know how they came to certain conclusions, but then they explain themselves. Like, oh yes, that's why they're geniuses and we're these people watching. But this is a rare one where at the very end, we do know what's going on, and they're kind of still grasping at straws.
Yeah, and they're confounded.
Yeah. The hypnosis within hypnosis.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I've always thought that, when I would teach this in class, we do it as, for example, of postmodernism. Mm-hmm. And that the slogan, of course, the truth is out there. That out there could mean, of course, two things, right?
Sure.
The truth is out there to be found, and the truth is out there.
Way out there, yeah. Let's just talk about the name Jose Chung.
Yeah.
And the guy they cast to play a guy named Jose Chung.
The way they kind of nest these metaphors in there. So you've got Charles Nelson Riley, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Playing Jose Chung, right? Which is a contradiction in some ways there.
In some ways.
An actor who is a brilliant actor. I mean, if you ever see his, I think he did that one-man show you can watch that's incredible. He's a really well-respected actor, but my generation knew him as one of the participants of Match Game.
Okay.
And TV shows like that, or Hollywood Squares.
That's what I was thinking, Hollywood Squares. He's Mr. Center Square, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, Hollywood Squares. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking about. So the fact that the voice of authority here is played by somebody who culturally most people see as a joke, yet who has this kind of secret existence as a valid, respected entertainer, who is most known for being on quiz shows.
Yeah.
Which is all about finding out the right answer, right?
Oh, and it's interesting, yeah.
And then of course you get Alex Trebek coming up in there.
Yeah.
So there's all this like level of commentary being woven in there that's sound.
It's fascinating, and he almost there's a great line, another of the many great lines that's so subtle that I don't think a lot of people embrace it and fully absorb what he means when he says it. But when he's talking about how disturbing the eyewitness testimony was that he was given, which was given to him written, that it was written in screenplay format.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this is an incredible show about how fictional constructs not just alter, but might determine what we see as reality.
Yeah.
So that guy saw his experience as a screenplay, and of course that leads to probably my favorite line in the whole episode, which is, "You don't play Dungeons and Dragons."
Yeah. You obviously, yeah.
For 6 years without learning a little bit something about courage. I mean, I'm not getting the line exactly right.
No, yeah.
As a D&D nerd, I just lost it when I saw that. But there again, you have the blurring between the real and what's the fictional that gets blurred. And of course, the one guy gives the crazy explanation about the alien overlord that is, and then and then they undercut that with the end where one of the other witnesses goes, "Did he mention
Lord Kimbo?"
Then Kimbo.
Yeah.
That's a Kimbo. Yeah, I was like, oh my, I just
wow.
all
over again.
Now I think about it, if you get the humor is wonderful, but there could be something kind of potentially very frightening about this episode, because it does leave them in such a
lurch. Even
the title is with that, so it's Jose. The apostrophe is very unclear. Is it Jose Chung's from Outer Space, which is the name of his book?
Yeah.
Or is it Jose Chung is from Outer Space? Alex Trebek, who is famous for a game show where
you ask questions.
And answers. Yeah. And Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, his obviously they're going to be buddy cop. That's a good buddy cop show.
Yeah, exactly. Alex
Trebek and Ventura.
And of course, Ventura was famous before he became governor for being a wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah.
A wrestler who's not really a wrestler, and then became a politician. He became this really huge conspiracy nut.
That's right, he is now, isn't he?
He went into being part of the system, and I think he was kind of out there to begin with, as far as not believing the status quo of the story that we're told, but to really not be part of the system at all, and be kind of really out there. As a guy that's getting arrested because he's trying to expose this, that, or the other, as an outsider. Oh, I read that some of the details were taken from actual not eyewitness, but abductee stories, including that one line about when they were thinking that the girl in the beginning was maybe a rape victim, and was having some suppressed memories and, stunned trauma. some of the evidence to corroborate that was that when she woke, her clothes was put on her backwards and inside out. And that was actually something that had come up in some abduction cases.
Really? I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. Thank you, X-Files Wiki.
If I can say one final thing that's always struck me about this episode, is at the end you come back to the couple.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And the boy is outside her
the window.
And the way that Jose Chung ends it gives you a satisfying closure without giving you any closure, which then kind of mocks the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like he's almost mocking you, saying, I know you want closure. It's almost like Chris Carter's going, I know you need closure, so we'll add on this little emotional moment at the end.
Yeah.
Let's give you what you want. Goodbye.
Yeah, because this is, whether you're investigating the paranormal, like, as somebody that goes out trying to make contact or just be a good witness to a location that's active, no matter what happens, unless a spirit were to come out and say, my name is so-and-so, this is how I died, and this is why I'm here right now, and here's all of my abilities. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So no matter what, we're going to get more and more bits of information. Hopefully, if things are going well, we'll get a little sliver of something here and there. But our work will never be done. And going back into the larger picture of what is reality, it's still going to be subjective at the end of the day.
So as a ghost hunter, do you watch this episode completely differently than I do as a ghost hunter? For you, this is about the slippery nature of trying to put these things together.
To me, that feels like what it is.
It's about the slippery nature of evidence.
Yeah.
And what defines evidence.
And it's really, because, I don't know, just as I talked about, an eyewitness account isn't worth anything, really. So yeah, it is tough to ever know what reality is, and I don't know, I haven't brought it up, but I keep going to that moment where the girl under hypnosis is saying, I'm in a room full of people. Okay, what are they saying? You're getting very sleepy. And they have who could know what was going on?
But this probably wouldn't be the one you tell people to watch first, right?
I have shown it to people.
You have?
First, yeah.
Do you think it's better if they watch some X-Files then watch this one, or do you think it's good just to drop them right into this?
I think if they can handle this, they can handle a lot.
Yes.
So I don't hesitate.
Thinking ahead to the one other really funny one was the one they make fun of the alien autopsy video. That was
shoot, I was actually going to bring that up because they do, they basically reference the alien autopsy video in this one.
Yeah, that's right.
Our eyewitness gets invited to come and attend the autopsy, and he's got his little, VHS recording camcorder, and it really is mirroring the very famous alien autopsy special. That I think was also on Fox.
Yeah, it was on Fox.
Yeah.
People probably don't remember this, but it was like this really poorly made sort of thing. But it was for some reason intensely popular.
They really marketed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So everybody knew, or everybody thought, nobody really thought, but everybody thought that we're gonna see an alien body on prime time tonight. Yeah. And we'll see doctors examine it, and we'll get to know as if.
They ran it like and then they reran it like it's an encore show. I mean, like it was, for whatever reason, it was like crazy popular.
Yeah, and I love that they really just flat out mocked it, including with the overdramatic Robert Stack-like host.
Yeah.
That is,
Millennium made fun of it too.
See, I never saw Millennium, and I see that there's a crossover. Jose Chung appears in Millennium.
Yes, in a very good episode of Millennium.
It's just
right about then is when Millennium got really good. Is if you want to watch Millennium, you can watch those episodes. That's where it got really good.
That's interesting. Yeah, I need to. Is that a spin-off, or is it like?
It was in the same universe because you get some kind of crossover.
Thank you for joining us for a look at Jose Chung's From Outer Space, and what the apostrophe means is up to you.